So now that we've talked about global warming as a class, you guys are going to go off on your own and do some individual research. So what we're going to talk about today is the CRAAP test, which is a way to make sure that you are finding credible sources for your research. So this is a test from Merriam Library at California State University, and it's a test that will help you look at sources that you find and evaluate the information and analyze if it's a good source with reliable information. So these are the main categories that this test looks at: currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose of the source. So we're going to go through each step, or each category in more detail. So first, when you have one of your sources, you're going to look at currency, which is the timeliness of the information. So if we're talking about global warming, what do you think, or what time frame do you guys think your source would want to be in?
2 years.
Right, so probably something pretty recent. You want to look at when the information was published or posted, if it's been revised, and does your topic require current information? So global warming is something that's constantly changing, over time, so you want to make sure that the sources you have are relevant and current. Okay, the next one is relevance, the importance of the information for your needs. So does the information relate to your topic or answer your question? Who is the intended audience? Is the information at an appropriate level, etc.? So who is the intended audience? So after you guys do your research, we're going to be sharing this information as a class. We're going to be sharing what you found and how you use the CRAAP test to see if your sources were reliable. Have you looked at a variety of sources before determining this is the one you'll use? So why do you guys think it's important that you look at a variety of sources before deciding one is the source you want to talk about in class?
To get more information?
Yeah, and maybe compare your information with other sources. Okay. Authority, the source of the information. So where does the information come from? Is the information supported by evidence? Has the information been reviewed or referred? So this may be something new for some of you, but when we do our research, we're going to be wanting to use scholarly sources. A lot of them will come from scholarly journals, and they'll say that they're peer-reviewed, which means that other people in the field, in the scientific field, looking at climate change and global warming, have looked at this person's article to look at the information and see if it's accurate and valuable information. And the purpose, the reason the information exists. So what is the purpose of the information? Is it to inform, teach, sell, entertain, or persuade? Do the authors, sponsors make their intentions or purpose clear? Is the information fact, opinion, or propaganda? Is the point of view be objective and impartial? Are there political, ideological, cultural, religious, institution, or personal biases? So, do you guys know what a bias is? Or how to tell if a paper is biased? No. Okay, so since we're looking at a scientific topic, climate change, you want to make sure that this information is based on research and facts, and that someone isn't just giving you their opinion about whether climate change exists or the effects of climate change. And this is really important since we're looking at it from a scientific point of view. And I think that's it for the CRAAP list. Okay, so the next part of our researcher's project is analysis. So after you've conducted your research and you found an article and you've run the CRAAP test on it, you're going to be looking at these sources in more detail. So what to consider when you're analyzing. What is the author's argument? What evidence does the author use? What are the author's reasons for making that argument? Who is the author trying to persuade or inform? And thinking critically, so looking at different points of view, not just taking what the author says as fact right away, really considering it based on other information you know. Okay, so when you guys analyze for this project, you're not going to be writing a huge paper. We're just going to start with getting down how to analyze a source. So you might have a sheet of paper and write some main points down. One way to do it is using this little formula. So identifying the argument. When you have your source, you look for an argument which consists of first a claim, which is controversial, debatable, main point that the essay makes. Second, reasons for that claim. So how is the author offering explanations and evidence for why that claim is true? This is the way that you can write it out on your sheet that you'll be sharing with the class. So you'll state the claim that the author gives, and then 3 reasons. So your reasons can be any support or more detail they give to back up that claim. Assess the reasoning. So is there an alternative explanation that is possible? So just having that statement when you're assessing the reasoning, what do you guys think that means? What do you think you'll be doing when you're assessing reasons that the author gives to support their claim?
Thinking about what they mean.
Okay, so thinking about what they mean, anything else?
Why they're writing the article?
Yeah, like what's their purpose or intentions? Yeah, so assessing the reasoning is part of like thinking critically. So you want to look at different points of views or explanations for the reasons that author's giving that information. Are there any like weaknesses? Does something not make sense? Or does it all line up? Okay, so the next part is evidence presented sufficient? Sufficient basically, is there enough information? Is it good information for supporting the author's claim? What assumptions do the reasons rest on? What do you guys know about assumptions, or what are assumptions?
You should never assume.
Yeah. Why not?
Assumptions are like what you conclude based upon information that you don't have, or like judgments and whatnot.
Yeah. So what it says here is an assumption is what one takes for granted to be true, but which actually may not be true. So like you said, there may not be evidence or enough support for an argument or a point that the author is making, and so they're just jumping to a conclusion. That's an assumption. Next part is, does the writer commit any logical fallacies? Does anyone have any idea what a fallacy is, or logical fallacy is? No? Okay, so it says fallacies are commonly committed errors of reasoning. So the best way to think of logical fallacies is just, does the author's point make sense? You kind of can think, if you think of it logically, it's just, does it make sense? Do their points line up? Does the information they're presenting help you see more clearly the author's point of view, or does it just, is something missing? Okay, so the previous steps must also be considered when you're creating your own argument. So we're going to keep these steps in mind. So part of this assignment is creating your own opinion, or your own, not opinion, your own argument about climate change and global warming. So based on the information you found with the CRAAP test, and then analyze with these steps, you're going to make your own claim. So your own claim will be based on this information, what you want to argue about climate change. It could be whether it's true, false, or something more specific. And then you need your 3 reasons, which could be data, it could be a point that you're making, but you might want to back up with some data you found in your research. And that's about it for now.
I'm gonna introduce there.
Okay, so now that you guys know how to find your source and analyze your sources, the next thing you're going to do is take your individual source and using the claim and the 3 reason formula, you're going to analyze your source, making your own claim. And then as a class, we're going to come together and share our own claims and analysis of the information that we found.